Hey everybody, I think that does it. I think we are live on the YouTubes. How's it going, everybody? It's Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I wanted to kind of talk about something a little different today. Wanted to talk about some movies. I was going to do a video after I watched these and kind of do a review, but I kind of want to just tackle them all at once, and I figured maybe a live chat would be the easier way. I'm a little lazy these days when it comes to making videos and wanting to edit and all that kind of stuff. I've even kind of gone away from using my external microphone as well too. With the amount of work that's been going on lately, I just kind of want to sit and chat, and then it just exists. So the live chat seems to be the way to go. A little bit of a stack. So for those of you who don't know, maybe I'll just do a brief kind of back info or whatever, backstory. Criterion Collection is sorry, 1 second. Criterion Collection is a company that has been one of the staples in my time watching DVDs and now into Blu-rays and stuff. Lots of world cinema from, 50s all the way up to present day. They put out all kinds of stuff, a lot of European directors, a lot of Asian directors, some North American, of course, and just a really broad catalog as far as the type of movies that they cover. Within that, there's sort of a specific style. They're more kind of art films for the most part, but they do run the gamut, no doubt. So every year they have kind of 2 or 3 sales on a year on their website only, 50% off sale for everything that's in stock. And that's one of the things with Criterion. Their Blu-rays can be pretty pricey. When I find them here in town at HMV, of all places, actually has quite a selection of them. They're usually about $40. Sorry, I'm just going to close this phone. It's distracting me there. They're usually about $40 Canadian when I see them. They can run $35 to $40 Canadian. So when they are online and you can get the same Blu-rays for $15 to $20 depending, or you can get a box set for, $40 instead of $80. It's something that I always kind of jump onto through there because I have an account with them. It keeps track of past purchases. You also get points. If you spend $50, you get 50 points. Once you've reached 500 points, you get $50. You get a $50 gift certificate. Hey Rasa, how's it going? You get a $50 gift certificate to their store, basically. So I've been buying from them online since 2013. So it's taken me 3 years, but this past sale that was just on, I bought a few Blu-rays, placed my order, and then saw that you have $50 off your next purchase. So I dove right back in and basically got 2 Blu-rays for free. Plus it paid for some of the shipping, which was a really good deal. So one of the ones I wanted to talk about first, the thing that I love about all the Criterion stuff is the time and care that they take to kind of preserve the movie and present it in a way that the directors want it to be presented. And then on top of that, the extra features, especially with Blu-rays, the extra features that they can cram on these suckers are pretty amazing, the amount of stuff they can cram right in there. So I'll start out with a couple that maybe are a little more of an appeal to the comic book reader in all of us. René Laloux, Fantastic Planet is one that I got. And these first couple, this one I watched all the special features and I've watched the movie already. I couldn't wait. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. It's a hell of a movie. The director also did a couple of other animated movies. One that Mobius had a hand in, and the name of it is The Time Masters, I think. And then another one that another European artist, Kaza, I think, was responsible for was Gandahar, which I just found online the other day. I've seen that it's on, you can watch it on YouTube as well. I haven't sat and watched it yet, but I would highly recommend both of those. So the artist that's responsible for this is a guy named Roland Topor, and he did some work in films. He acted in some films. He wrote some novels, one of which got turned into what I didn't know until I watched the special features, a Roman Polanski movie that I love called The Tenant. Really, really love this. It's based on a Topor novel, which I had no fucking idea about. He's also been in a couple of movies, including Werner Herzog's Nosferatu. Yes, Nosferatu, I believe, is the one. So the extras on this are fantastic because there's a lot of kind of at the time documentaries where they're talking to him, where they talk to René Laloux as well, the kind of the director of this movie. So it's basically a film about this alien species, and comes with a nice little poster as well, and they have humans as pets. So these humans are kind of like pests to some degree for the alien species, until they kind of escape the chains of bondage, so to speak, and discover each other and become all wild, and decide that they're going to use the knowledge against their kind of these giants, basically, who are trying to basically just destroy them. Really, really great movie. It's just fantastic. If you haven't seen it, like I said, I'd highly recommend checking out Fantastic Planet. It's very, very cool. There's a company in the States as well called Unbox Industries, and they have just recently put out the first in a series of toys that I think they're doing related to this movie. This one might be a movie that I do a little bit more in-depth review on at some point. It deserves it for sure. And then the history behind it and the animation and everything, I think really deserves a second look. This one also has a couple of early short films that they did together as well from the 60s. But I mean, it's all the special features on this that are really fantastic. There's an optional English language soundtrack, 2 short films, a 2009 documentary on the director. There's an episode of a French television program called Italiques from 1974 about Topor's work, an interview with Topor from 1973, trailers, and a little essay, which I showed you already. So highly recommended. The next one that is kind of burned into my memory is Watership Down. It's funny. I have very vague memories of this movie, but it's really etched in there. It's more of like a feeling of unease, and that this movie scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. It's pretty violent. It's about a group of rabbits that are trying to escape their burrows and kind of head on to new pastures and all the kind of dangers that they face. So when I was watching the extra features on this, they showed some clips from the movie, and there was one scene in particular where the farmers, I think, were trying to poison all the rabbits down in their burrows and kind of pumping chemicals down there. And you see all these rabbits huddled together and pushing deeper and deeper into the earth. As soon as I saw that image, it instantly triggered. That was a scene that was really intense for me as a child. That kind of claustrophobic feeling that was on display in that little scene is unreal. This one has some fantastic special features as well. The group of animators were from UPA, I guess, which was a European animation group that I know absolutely nothing about. There's a look at the insert. I don't know as much as I do know about some animation, UPA are a group that I know absolutely nothing about. When I started looking into them on YouTube, there's a lot of their stuff on YouTube. I think I posted something on my Twitter account the other day. I've had this soundtrack on vinyl for many a year, but I just don't own a copy of this sucker, or I haven't owned a copy of this sucker, and now I finally do. Really great. They have some interviews with some people, with 2 guys who did background paintings, and a couple of guys who were also responsible for some of the animation. And just hearing them talk, anytime I hear animators talk about their craft, it's really exciting. Just talking about even in background painting, they can look at the movie and they know exactly which artist did which background, because as much as you want to try to have a style that's all cohesive as a group, after a while, everybody's kind of independent artistic style kind of creeps out. So the fact that they can look at even backgrounds and see who's doing what and who did which scene, I think is fascinating. And the animation as well, when they're talking about animating the characters, the differences that you can see throughout the movie. Guillermo del Toro also has a little interview in here, and he talks about kind of the sort of unprofessionalism and the unpolished nature of the animation in this movie, and how he feels that it really adds to the overall unease of the movie, period. Especially at the time when you're dealing with companies like Disney and everything that are doing a more polished kind of product. You get something like this that has its own voice, and the subject matter definitely not for kids as well. Really great. This is next up to watch. I've watched all the special features now. Tonight I'll probably sit down and just rewatch this one. But another one, if you haven't seen it, highly recommended. Tats Comics, how's it going? He says he remembers that movie and he loves it. And yes, I mean, I think there's a lot of people of a certain generation that this is part of their youth. I don't know if we saw it on TV or where we saw it, but I do remember seeing it as a child. And like I said, parts of it just scared the hell out of me. It's a fairly intense movie, not one for young children, that's for sure. And then last night, this is a newer Criterion. I started watching the special features on this Robert Altman movie called McCabe and Mrs. Miller. I believe this came out after he did MASH. And my memories of this movie are from film school in university, when I did a little bit of, or film courses rather, in university. I did a couple of film courses and we watched this in our class. And one of the things that he talked to us about immediately afterwards was, what did you think about the characters and the dialogue? And everybody was kind of puzzled. It's like, well, you know, couldn't really hear what they were saying, and people were talking over top of each other, and the kind of sound of the world was masking what they were saying. And he kind of made a point of like, yes, that's exactly the point. It ultimately doesn't matter what these people are saying. It's more about the atmosphere. It's more about the world that they inhabit, as opposed to like catching every single word that they say. And that kind of stuck with me. I haven't seen it since. I started watching the extras last night, and there is, let me see here. There's a couple of excerpts from the Dick Cavett show from 1971, one with Robert Altman himself, where he talks about the movie and the negative publicity and reviews that it got at the time. And then the other from the infamous film critic Pauline Kael, who was one of the few people that was championing this movie. While everybody else was tearing it a new asshole, she was saying there's something here and it's going to be one of those movies that's going to outlive everything else that's currently in the theater. So really excited to check this sucker out again. There's the back. And again, I mean, the special features, the other story with this one, which I found impressive, it was filmed in Vancouver, and they built the entire town themselves. That was their budget to, they were building the town as they were all living there as well. And not only that, there's just a whole bunch of text in there. Not only that, but in the story, he likes to shoot as kind of chronologically as possible. So the beginning of the story is about Warren Beatty's character coming into town and him wanting to take over the town and make some money and kind of help this town grow. So as they were still building the sets and building the town, they were filming. So a lot of the people that were carpenters and people that were working on the movie, they just dressed them up in period costumes and had them in the background as they were really building it. So it was like this town in the story was getting built. It was getting built in real life, and they all lived out there together and just kind of created this community. Apparently, Altman says that there was a baby born. Somebody's mother died and was buried up in the hills. You know, so it really became a part of their life. And he's that kind of director that I think really likes to have that real life experience go along with his movie to add another depth to it. Kind of like, again, kind of like a Herzog kind of guy. Fitzcarraldo, for example, where it's going to be a movie about taking a ship over a mountain. Well, how are we going to do that? We're going to take a fucking ship over a mountain. That's how we're going to do it. So this one is going to be great as well. He has his own way of, I don't know, he just has his own world when it comes to his movies and the characters and the way that they do talk and the way that they do talk over each other. It really gives it a sense of a little more realism. It's what happens when you have a conversation with people. You know, not everybody is waiting for your very last word to be spoken before they start talking. So that's going to be a great one. One of the first movies I saw from the Criterion Collection, and the first movie I saw from Francois Truffaut was The 400 Blows. And I have been jonesing for this movie for years now. They had it on DVD, but now this Blu-ray edition is out and in my grubby little hands. Restored. There's 2 audio commentaries. There's some footage, audition footage, newsreel footage from the film showing at Cannes Film Festival, excerpt from 1965 interview with Truffaut, excerpt from a 1960 interview with Truffaut, etc., and an essay and stuff as usual. This is the DVD Blu-ray combo pack. And if you don't know about Truffaut in this particular movie, the main character is Antoine Doinel, and it's based on Truffaut himself as a child. And the character's name is, the Antoine Doinel is the character's name. The actor's name is Jean-Pierre Laude, and they did a series of movies together as he grew up. He wrote a few movies that was based on the same character. I think 4, I want to say, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But this was the first one, and this was about his early childhood. And it's just great. It was one of those that just kind of seared itself into my memory. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So Truffaut used to be a film critic as well in France. And then he kind of put his money where his mouth is and decided to get into directing and became fucking Francois Truffaut is who he became. So, you know, he's had a huge impact in the world of like new wave French cinema for sure. But this one I'm really excited to see. I've talked to my wife about it too a couple of times. I'd really like to sit down and watch this one with her. I think she might like this. I think the last time it came up, we were talking about the movie Boyhood that I still haven't seen, where they follow some characters over a couple of years. I can't remember how many years. Was it 5 or 10 years? I don't even remember how long. But it's this film that was made kind of real time and kind of revisiting these actors every once in a while. And it just reminded me of Truffaut, what he did with this series of films. OMG, Chris, how's it going, bud? Just dropping in and listening while getting ready for work. Shitty deal. It's Sunday, and I actually have the day off, which is glorious. So yeah, 400 Blows, Francois Truffaut. Another one I can highly recommend. I can highly recommend all of them, as a matter of fact. Another one that might be of interest to some comic type people. If I can get it out of the case here. Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis, Sweet Smell of Success, with Sean Phillips paintings all over this sucker. Thanks, OMG Chris. Take it easy. The other thing with Criterion is the amount of kind of talent they have associated with their company, and especially when it comes to illustration and paintings for the DVDs and Blu-rays. They've dug into the world of comic book artists a number of times. Daniel Klaus has done some stuff. Sean Phillips is here. Benjamin Mara has done some stuff, and a whole litany of other artists. This one I've seen as well when I was young, more of like a film noir sort of feature about the kind of underbelly of gossip columnists and that sort of thing, and people trying to get into the paper, how they get into the paper, celebrity, what kind of shit you have to do to get into the paper and get some notoriety. Really, really great when I saw it. One that I'm excited to see again. And then here's the rest of Mr. Sean Phillips art there on the cover. Nice, beautiful book along with it, and the usual list of extras, new restorations, new audio commentary, documentary about the director, James Wong Howe, cinematographer as well, who also showed up in Seconds by John Frankenheimer that I just watched recently, which maybe brings us to this one, which is another Frankenheimer, The Manchurian Candidate, starring old Blue Eyes Frank Sinatra, from 1962, 126 minutes. I don't know much Frankenheimer stuff, to be fair, but I watched Seconds recently. I've had Seconds on Blu-ray for about a year, and just before Christmas, there was kind of a best of your top 10 favorite horror movies lists going around on Twitter, and 64-page special posted Seconds as one of his choices, and it just kind of reminded me that I got to watch it, and it's an unbelievable movie, just amazing, with Rock Hudson, and it's a hell of a movie. I really, really liked it a hell of a lot. So one of the other movies that they talk about in some of the special features of that is The Manchurian Candidate, which I then immediately snatched up. So that's pretty exciting. It's hard to see this text on this color. Audio commentary from 1997 featuring the director John Frankenheimer. New interviews with Angela Lansbury. New piece featuring filmmaker Errol Morris discussing his appreciation for The Manchurian Candidate. That's awesome. Errol Morris is a hell of a guy as well. Conversation between Frankenheimer and screenwriter George Axelrod and actor Frank Sinatra from 1987. Wow, that would be something else. So there you go. And then the usual essay. I don't know anything about this movie. I've never seen it. I'm curious. I'm curious what it's going to be like. Henri Georges Clouzot is a guy that, again, I don't know very much about. This is The Wages of Fear. And the other one that I have from him is Diabolique, I think is the one that I have from him, which I loved. It's not a movie where the ending is any sort of surprise, but it's the build-up and the way that it's made that's just incredible. And apparently this is fantastic as well. In a squalid South American oil town, 4 desperate men sign on for a suicide mission to drive trucks loaded with nitroglycerin over a treacherous mountain route. As they ferry their explosive cargo to a faraway oil fire, each bump and jolt tests their courage, their friendship, and their nerves. The result is one of the greatest thrillers ever committed to celluloid, a white-knuckle ride from France's legendary master of suspense, Henri Georges Clouzot. Kind of cited as like a Hitchcock type of director with the way that he builds up suspense. I'm really excited to see this one as well. I am with all of them. It's restored. There's video interviews with the assistant director and Clouseau's biographer, video interview with Yves Montand from 1988, a documentary on the director's career from 2004, and an analysis of cuts made to the film for its 1955 US release. So there you go. Later, Tat. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, I mean, again, it's stuff like this that's exciting. Part of me that's exciting about Criterion for me. This one comes with a nice little book as well too. Stuff like this is exciting for me about Criterion. When you do make a discovery of a director that you like, they usually have one or two other movies that they've done in their catalog, or they have some more coming out. So it's really easy to kind of dive into some of these guys immediately. When I discovered Pierre Melville, Criterion has released like 6 of his movies, you know, Le Samurai, Cercle Rouge, etc., etc. Bob the Gambler, and just the way that they present it is just in such a light. You get so much context of the time. When they have interviews of them talking about the movie when it came out, just people reflecting on that time and the making of the movie, all the kind of nerdy movie stuff that I just absolutely love. All of that just adds to it for me. Second to last here is another Robert Altman, The Player with Tim Robbins, Greta Scacchi, Fred Ward, Whoopi Goldberg, Peter Gallagher. I saw this many, many years ago, and I remember enjoying it. It didn't blow me away at the time, but now it's a Hollywood studio executive with a shaky moral compass, finds himself caught up in a criminal situation that would be right at home in one of his movie projects, in this biting industry satire from Robert Altman. And that's kind of what made me want to revisit it. Now that I've been working in film here in Winnipeg for 10 plus years, the idea that it's a biting industry satire from Robert Altman, especially, who is notorious for his hatred of Hollywood and the Hollywood movies. Don Fletcher, how the hell are you? Really makes this a movie that I want to revisit. I'm excited to sit and watch this. And again, I mean, a million special features with this sucker too. I think this might be a newer release as well. 812. Yeah, I think so, because 827 is McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and McCabe and Mrs. Miller just came out recently. So this is a little more recent as well. So there we go. Some beautiful art there on the insert. Just their whole packaging, their whole catalog, everything about this company just always impresses the shit out of me. So that one's going to be exciting. Don, since you're here, I was also talking about this. I picked up 2 Robert Altmans this particular sale, McCabe and Mrs. Miller being the other one, which if you are an Altman collector, I'm assuming you've seen as well. Yeah, so maybe I'll do, when I still have a couple of days off this week before we get back into the next movie. I'm going to try to watch both of these back to back, both the Altmans. And finally, last but not least, Criterion also has kind of this series called the Eclipse series, and they package movies together. There's no special features. I don't even think that there's trailers involved in any of this. It's just the movie, and they just kind of pack a theme together. So the one that I couldn't resist on to get when the sale erupted was When Horror Came to Shochiku, which is a studio, a Japanese film studio from, I think all these are from 1967 and 1968. I love Japanese cinema, and I love all of the Asian films that Criterion has put out, mostly the Japanese directors, Seijun Suzuki being a huge one for me. But this one, the only one that I've heard about is Goke, Body Snatcher from Hell from 1968. The other 3 I've never heard about. The X from Outer Space, The Living Skeleton, and one called Genocide. So they're DVD editions, but they don't do the Eclipse in Blu-ray editions as far as I know. And they just come in these slim cases with very minimal art, but still really nice design. I've got a few other box sets from this Eclipse series that I bought on previous sales. And these are exactly the kind of thing that makes it really worth it. Where we'll get a lot of Blu-rays, a lot of these Blu-rays, well, maybe half of these Blu-rays I'd be able to find here in town. When it comes to these box sets, they never show up here in town. I've never seen any for sale here. So when I do hit the sale, I always try to buy something like this to really make it worth my while. Yeah, so again, I know nothing about these. Maybe I'll talk about them once I've watched these as well. That is the Criterion stack. If you don't know Criterion Collection, you have Sam Fuller on Eclipse. Nice. I would love to have that one. That's one that I don't have. I love Sam Fuller. If you don't know Criterion, go and check them out. If you do know Criterion, I'd highly recommend signing up on their website and creating an account. They'll send you emails when the 50% off sale comes. It's usually only 24 hours. This past one, I think they extended it another 12 hours, so 36 hours total. But it's really, they send out the email first thing in the morning, and then that's it. And you have a very short window to grab what you can from their catalog that's available in their web store, basically. And that's the other thing with Criterion. There's a lot of movies that I've missed out on and that have now become out of print. I think for the most part, the way that they have their deal with these movies is they have kind of they just have a deal to print a certain amount, and it's a very short contract, and that's it. So once they're out of print unless they can renew the agreement with whoever owns the rights to the movie to be able to release it again. It's not something that they have for a long time. So once these movies are out of print, they don't print up more copies of them. They're long gone. There's a couple of movies that I had that I sold many, many years ago that I kick myself for doing because I would love to have them back. So they'll update you on the sales, and then you'll have an account. So as I was saying at the beginning of this whole spiel, once you've spent $500, and again, it took me 3 years to do that. Once you spend $500, you get $50 gift certificate as kind of like an appreciation for spending so much money with them. They give you $50 worth of merchandise for free. They have shirts, they have mugs, they have posters, but I always buy, or this last time I bought movies with it. Dead Ringers may be out of print. That may very well be true. I know there was one that I liked, Coup de Torchon, that was a phenomenal dark movie that's out of print, and I had that on DVD. And many years ago, when I needed some bucks, I ended up selling most of my Criterion collection because I knew I'd get some money for them. And I regret it extremely. But they're a company worth backing. They're a company worth looking into. They're a company worth your money. You won't be disappointed. Yes, some of the stuff is a bit pricier, but that's why I wait for the sales. Barnes & Noble, for those of you in the States watching this in the future, usually around the same time that Criterion Online has their sale, within a couple of days or a week's time, Barnes & Noble also has a 50% off sale because I also get notified about that too. So it does happen. So it makes a $40 DVD or a $40 Blu-ray a lot more manageable for 20 bucks. And like I said, it is so fucking jam-packed. That's an entire night of viewing if it's a movie that you really like, with all the bonus features and the commentary tracks and the booklets inside. You've got one hell of a package for 20 bucks at a discount. Yeah, so I guess kind of last thing here. We were just at the old comic shop, my daughter and I just actually finished reading it before we started. Shade the Changing Girl #2, got both of the covers, and really, really dug it. I'm still really liking this book. I think that this is going to be something that just gets better with time. We're kind of getting into it now. She wants to be called Shade now. She's really taken up the mantle of her idol, Rack Shade, and just kind of getting involved in this world and trying to make sense of this world and trying to make sense of what the body she inhabits now, what this girl's relationship was with everybody in her school. Really, really great read, really great art. I'm enjoying that series a lot. I follow Brendan McCarthy on Twitter, and he had posted the other day about doing a 2-parter. I think it's going to be a 2-parter in Dr. Fate. So I saw this at the shop for a $2.99 price tag. It feels so thin as far as a book goes, and I couldn't resist. I love Brendan McCarthy. His art is fantastic. So I couldn't resist. I think this is going to be something that will still be pretty easy to get into, even though I'm not reading the Dr. Fate comic. I don't see an issue with getting into this and enjoying some Brendan McCarthy. The Unworthy Thor, I picked up #1. I really like Jason Aaron. I was reading his Thor run years ago when he was writing it, and it just fell by the wayside. I was reading some of them with my son as well, and that stopped fairly quick because of the intensity of the story. It was a little scary, to be honest. But then, because we weren't reading together, when cuts came to the pull list, that was one of the cuts that came. So I have yet to finish that series. So I figured, what the hell, let's jump on #1. Another #1 that I'm extremely excited for is Earth's Mightiest Heroes, The Avengers. Mark Waid and Mike Del fucking Mundo on art. And forget about it. I mean, Weird World is such a killer book, and it's mostly because of Del Mundo's art. The other side of this is that it's Kang. It's going to be a Kang storyline, which I'm a fan of the character Kang. So I'm really looking forward to digging into this sucker. I don't want to flip through too many pages. I don't want to spoil anything for myself. So that one I'm incredibly excited about. The only one left, Rez, if you are watching this in the future, Aftermath, The Big Clean, or The Aftermath, Big Clean, #3. The only one that was in my shop. When I looked on the racks, it was gone, so I thought I missed it because usually I get in there on Wednesday, and it's now Sunday that I went to pick up my comics. I forgot. I didn't have this on my pull list, but my comic guy was nice enough to put one issue in the box for me because I don't think they get many issues of this in. So I was unable to find one for you, Rez. I've got one for myself, and I'll keep my eyes open though at a couple of other shops, but I haven't been seeing this book anywhere. And again, it's a heavy metal publication, and the art is absolutely gorgeous and crazy and just fucking batshit insane, really colorful. They still have copies of #1 and 2 at my shop, but I guess either they cut their order when it came to #3, or for some reason #3 sold out. I have a feeling it's more the previous comment that they cut their order. But a really unique comic book, that one. And finally, it feels like we've been waiting forever. Strange Fruit, #4 of 4. Yeah, J.G. Jones and Mark Waid. And again, I mean, the art in this sucker is just so fucking beautiful. A really, really well done book. Heavy duty cardstock cover. Beautiful interior painted pages. Forget about the controversy that erupted when this first one came out. It's a hell of a good book. I'm going to have to go back and reread #3, though, because it's been a long time since this has come out, and I can't remember anything that happened in the previous one. But this is it, the final issue from this miniseries, deluxe miniseries from Boom Studios of all people. So yeah, that was the pickups from today. And my daughter got a Frozen comic as well, which she was extremely excited about. We read, there's 3 stories in it, 3 short stories. We read one before her nap. That's it. That's all. Thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in when you did drop by. Dawn, always a pleasure to see you. If that is still you watching, I see there's one person still watching. Always nice to see you. Larasa, thank you. Tats Comics, OMG Chris, thanks everybody for stopping by. And to you in the future watching this, thank you very much for watching. Please check out some Criterion and I don't know, discover some amazing movies or revisit some movies that you haven't seen for a while. Fantastic Planet and Watership Down specifically. Highly, highly recommended. Just give them a shot if you haven't seen them. I think you'll get something out of them. If you are a watcher, a viewer of my channel, and you do like some of the comics that I talk about, I'd highly recommend Fantastic Planet if you haven't seen it. Really, really amazing, really fantastic art and music. All right, thanks very much, everybody, and we'll talk to you.